you are the vice president of marriage and family formation at Focus on the Family and the former president of the National Institute of Marriage. What
Yes.
do you currently, first of all, thanks for coming on. I'd love to hear what you currently do for marriage and family at Focus on the Family.
Yeah. So my technical title is Vice President of Marriage, which kind of puts pressure in a good way on my own marriage. But my job is really to, I love Hebrews 13:4 that says, marriage should be honored by all. And so, kind of for us, the idea is how do we help people honor their marriage? And so we do that by then looking at for couples who are getting married, how do we help prepare them well to get married? We look at existing marriages to go, how do we help them keep their marriage strong? We want to help couples who are in crisis, so who are struggling. We know that that's about 25% of couples are in crisis, really struggling in their marriage. So how do we help them kind of get back on track in their marriage? And then the other piece is we want we love the idea of helping people get strength in their marriage so that they can turn around and help other couples in their marriage. So it's kind of this equipping people to keep your marriage strong. And then how do you help another couple? Because my wife and I have been married 33 years, and we've had
Congrats.
so many, oh, thank you. We've had so many people over the years who have invested in our marriage in big and small ways. And so that's a real passion of ours to go, all right, like I love the analogy of the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is unique because it's got this life-giving river, the Jordan River that flows into it. But just the uniqueness of the Dead Sea, nothing actually flows out. And we always think about God doesn't want us to have a Dead Sea marriage to where he's pouring in, he's filling us, he's strengthening us. He wants us to then turn around and pour out. So how are we then investing in other couples in big and small ways? We always tell people, one of the simplest ways to invest in another couple is, just pray for them. And so we have a whole prayer challenge a couple can take together to pray for another couple. We had when I was in graduate school getting my doctorate, when we were, very young married. I mean, we had no money. We had our oldest daughter was 1 when I started graduate school. And, my wife was working full time as a labor and delivery nurse. So we just, like everybody else, we were just busy, worn out, and exhausted. And we had this couple who showed up at our house one day. We had this little apartment, knock on the door. It's this older couple. I didn't recognize them, but I answer the door, look at him, and this guy just holds out a $20 bill and says, "We're here for your daughter, Taylor." And it threw me like, did my wife just sell our daughter? Like, what is happening here? Well, it turned out this was a couple from our church, and they it they had, I don't know, just noticed, maybe recognized that we seemed exhausted, and they literally drove. They would ride their little bikes over to our apartment once a week, and they would give us a $20 bill and watch our daughter. And Aaron and I would go out and have split a burger and play Miss Pac-Man and talk and connect. We left that really stressful season stronger in our marriage. And so, I mean, it's just, that's the kind of example of going, you don't have to go and mentor another couple but you can, but man, pray for, babysit for, post stuff on social media, pro marriage stuff. I mean, there's a lot of ways that we can invest in other couples. And so that's what we're trying to build up. What we would call these people marriage champions. How do you, a champion just simply keeps their marriage strong and invests in other couples?
What a beautiful story. So, how do you get there? What are the 5 tips for a happy marriage?
Yeah, I would say first off is learning how to really do conflict well as a couple. That trips so many of us up. just we either poorly manage conflict or we hate it so much that we avoid it. And the fact is, conflict, like I love James 1:2 that says, when trials come your way, consider that an opportunity. And so there's this opportunity when conflict happens. Aaron and I, we get to learn more about each other, more about myself, more about her. Like there really is a beautiful opportunity there. Maybe we need to break some ineffective pattern, something. There's always something that we can gain from conflict. But what Aaron and I have learned is that healthy couples are going to have conflict. So not having conflict is not the goal. The goal is, how do we repair conflict once it happens? And the research shows that even the healthiest couples only do a good job repairing conflict off the bat, at the first time out, just once out of every 3 times. So I mean, you think it like with baseball, if you're hitting 33% of the time, you're probably going to be in the Hall of Fame someday. And we look at conflict the same way. Aaron and I, we still get our buttons pushed. We still get into conflict once out of every 3 times. We probably manage it right then and there well. Most of the time, we just need to come back and repair that and just figure out, man, what happened. And I want to care about what that was like for you. And she cares about what that was like for me. It's usually not a big solution that's needed. It's just a matter of, hey, did that matter that she felt whatever, invalidated or felt dishonored, whatever. And so we just learned we know how to do that. And so I think couples who know how to repair their conflict well, that's a huge part of keeping a marriage strong. I would say that um, learning how to resist the natural drift that's going on within marriage, just we're busy. We're doing life. We're raising kids and working and ministry and going to church and hobbies and, fill in the blank. And so I think it's natural for couples, just because of how busy we are, just to feel like they're drifting apart. And so we need to know how to fight back and kind of resist that drift. And Aaron and I, what we do is we believe the key there is just, you've got to spend 10 minutes a day just kind of hearing about the other person's inner life, not talking about budgets and to-do lists and who's picking up what from the store. Like Aaron and I, just before I jumped on with you, she and I were frantically texting, trying to figure out who can run to Walgreens and pick up some medication. So, I mean, we've got to have those conversations. But if that's all we ever talk about, are kind of this administration, the business meeting part of our life together, we're going to drift, versus going, how do we spend about 10 minutes a day just asking her, how you feeling? What's stressing you out? What was the high of your day, the low of your day? What are you dreaming about? It's that kind of information that we've got to keep rediscovering, because we're always changing. That's about the only thing I could ever promise a couple that's true, is that, man, all I really know is that you guys are constantly going to be changing. So you better stay on top of that. You better keep rediscovering each other. And that's why for her, we do the high and low. We do that as we're laying in bed. We've done that at the dinner table. We've done that driving to watch, one of our kids play, whatever. And so, but that doesn't happen on its own. That's one of those, we have to be intentional to go, hey, I want 10 minutes of rediscovering what's going on in your life so you don't drift so far apart from me. And that takes effort, but that's a cool part of marriage. We get to keep rediscovering each other. What else would I say tip wise? I mean, just, having that shared spiritual relationship is such an important part. And the research shows that so weekly going to church together, having that community, that church community, is huge for our just spiritual relationship. And then praying together. That's another one that we try to really make sure that we do before we go to bed. Just, I always ask her, what's one thing going on tomorrow that I can pray for you about? and she does the same for me. So one, that keeps us current. So that's another part of resisting that drift. But it's just cool when we get to just pray for whatever. Oh yeah, I forgot that you've got, she's a full-time marriage therapist. You've got this tough client tomorrow. Man, I'll be praying for that. So, I mean, those are, I think, some of the big things that Aaron and I try to really focus on.
Beautiful. So conflict resolution, one. Two, talking every day, not just about logistics, administrative things, but
Yeah.
sharing your inner life, high, low. And then I love that third tip you said, of course, taking care of your spiritual life, including
Yeah.
asking your spouse to pray for things, which shows
Yeah.
what is important to you, what's on your heart.
Yeah. I think those are big ones. I think another one is all these little decisions that we've got to make as a couple, making sure that we do that within a spirit of we're on the same team. Therefore, we're either going to lose together or we're going to win together. There's no such thing as a win-loss. So Aaron and I, we often remind each other, hey, we're on the same team. Like I got your back. I know you've got my back. We always say you got to make room for both people in the marriage. Both have to matter. And so when we go into, needing to make a decision, Aaron and I we don't have to get into this weird power struggle, because we just know that, man, we'll find something that feels good to both of us. Like if you talk to people about what is spiritual leadership or what does leadership look like in a marriage, oftentimes you hear it just solely around making decisions. And it's unfortunate because there's so much more that goes on in a marriage in terms of what leadership looks like, but definitely making decisions is a part of that. And so, Aaron and I have just really gotten good at when we've got to work through and make some decision. We will verbally say it to each other. Or you're my teammate. I remember one time that we were buying or selling our house, and the couple who was buying it wanted to buy a bunch of our furniture. So my wife is extrovert. She's a dreamer. So we knew about how much they were going to give us for furniture. Well, she starts dreaming about all these things that she wants to buy. And it was overwhelming me because it was like, 4 and 5 times as much as we were actually going to make off the sale of our furniture. And so at one point, our older daughters, we have now a 30 and a 27-year-old daughter, a 24-year-old son, and a 17-year-old daughter. But with our older daughters, they're just dreaming and they're coming up with this big list of what we should buy. And I got so frustrated. I stood up and I said to Aaron, I said, you've got to stop doing this. Like, you promised me you're going to stay within the budget. I'm hearing you. Everything you're saying is way outside the budget. Like, knock it off. That kind of totally pushed a button in me, and I handled it so poorly. But I'll never forget that Erin gets up and she comes right at me. Like, we're in the living room, everybody's right there. She comes straight at me and and gets right in my face. Like, I don't know what's about to happen. I don't know if she's going to yell at me or whatever, but she like grabs hold of my cheeks and just kind of holds me there. And she says, I want you to remember that you're my teammate. I would never spend money unless you and I talk that through in a way that feels good to both of us. And then she planted the biggest kiss on my lips and like dropped me, and I kind of flung back into my chair. And then she goes back and keeps talking with the girls. But it was such a cool reminder that, oh yeah, somewhere I was thinking that she was going to go rogue, that she was going to spend all this money that wouldn't have felt like a win to me. But simply her reminding me that hey, honey, we're 33 years. We're on the same team here. We'll figure this out together. Just, man, I was relaxed, and it didn't, so it's easy to lose sight of that. And that's the power of kind of making decisions together as a team and reminding each other.
You have an amazing wife.
She is pretty amazing. She's one more class away from finishing her doctorate. So now I get to call her Dr. Aaron.
Okay,
And
it's not
and
all
now
cracked up.
Right.
It's all it's
Yeah.
cracked up to be, man. I'll tell you that.
Now I just, it's time that I take my rightful place as a trophy husband next to Dr. Aaron Smalley. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
So Focus on the Family has a bunch of resources on the website. Can you
We do.
walk our audience through how to take most advantage of that, including I notice you have a marriage assessment.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
walking through how they can benefit from that.
Yeah, that's funny. I was just gonna say that we have tons of stuff and it can be overwhelming if you're just jumping on to, search whatever. In the marriage assessment, what it does is it'll ultimately show you here are 3 areas that you guys are doing really well. Like be proud of that, keep doing that. And then it's gonna show you 3 areas, and this is based on research we did looking at all of the healthy marriage research. Like, what are the big things that couples do that help them have a strong, kind of thriving marriage?
So y'all
So
did a
we
literature review of the existing
we
research
did.
and boiled it down to these three things.
Well, we boiled it down to 11. And so when you take the assessment, it's going to show how you do on all 11, but it's especially going to show you which of those 11 you do really well, but then which 3 you are growth areas for you guys as a couple. And so what that can do then is it helps to isolate for maybe it's they don't handle conflict well, or maybe they don't communication's a hard one, or spending time together, whatever it is. Then we can push then real specific content around in those areas just to help that person, that couple grow kind of uniquely in that whatever their growth areas were. So that's why it's free. So the assessment's free. That's what I like about it. It's going to help kind of go, okay, we could be doing 80 things, but what if you just help us look at 3 things that we could be doing better? And so that's the idea of the assessment. The other part that we do, like what I love about Focus on the Family Marriage is that we have a marriage lab. And so we have a program called Hope Restored. It's for couples who are in crisis, and it's they go through a marriage intensive. It's kind of like a marriage ER. We've been doing that for, I helped start that like 25 years ago. We've had 15,000 couples go through that.
Wow.
We track them. About 80% of those couples are still together. And so we've learned a ton just over the years of going, how do you help a couple in crisis? So we're able to take that learning and then apply that to different situations. So let's say that someone goes, well, I just found porn on my spouse's computer, or yeah, we're facing infidelity, or conflict, or we're just not talking. We never, we feel like we've drifted so far apart and we feel like roommates. Like, so we've taken all those learnings from this marriage lab to apply it to then that sort of content. So we have a lot of great content for couples who have just hit some issue, or maybe it's been a long season to where they just feel like roommates, whatever. And what I like is these aren't just, I think this sounds like a good idea, or this worked for me and Aaron and our marriage. I mean, this is based on 15,000 couples who we've worked with, we've used hundreds of therapists over the years. So you can trust it's not only biblically sound, but it's based off of research and learnings from doing these Hope Restored marriage intensives. And so we always tell people if whatever problem you're facing, most people get to our website because they type in on Google, this problem, and then we'll pop up and they'll come to us that way. But you can also go on our website and type in whatever question you have, and it's going to pull that content up. And so that's a passion of ours to go, we want to meet you where you're at. So what is the unique issue that you guys are facing? And I guarantee you we've got good research-based, biblically sound content to help you work through that. We've got podcasts, we have videos. I mean, we have all those kinds of assets as well to help that couple kind of figure out what's going on for them, and then whatever unique help they need.
So you were the former president of the National Institute of Marriage. What
Yep.
is that? Why did you transition into Focus on the Family?
Yeah, so that's when we started this Hope Restored kind of marriage intensive. So me and a guy named Bob Paul, so Dr. Bob Paul, we started that way back in the late 90s. And so we did that for a number of years. But for me, what was hard is that, I had very young kids. He had older kids. I had younger kids. In the way we do these marriage intensives, it's 2 counselors with 5 couples for 4 days. And so we do this as a group of 5 couples, all in crisis, and we do that for 4 days. And it just honestly, I did that for many, many, many years. And there's a term that we call compassion fatigue. It's for a lot of counselors go through that. And just as an introvert doing that sort of work, I was getting burned out, and I would come home and just have nothing to give my wife, have nothing to give my kids. And so Aaron and I began to really pray about that, feeling that, we love the ministry and the work that's being done is fantastic, but is this the right season for us? And right as we were praying, a guy from John Brown University, a good friend of mine, called looking for someone he was wanting to hire. And as he told me about the job, I went, man, you just described to me. And so Aaron and I ended up leaving that ministry. Nothing was wrong. It's just I was just burned out. And so I went and taught as a professor at John Brown University in Northwest Arkansas and loved it. What an amazing school. And that was a great season. And I was at an airport one time and ran into Jim Daly, the president of Focus on the Family, and he just said, "Hey, I'm looking for a couple to come head up we don't have a marriage department, and I want to start that." And he goes, "I thought of you and Aaron, and then now I've run into you at the airport. Is that something you guys would be interested in?" And we actually weren't at all. We loved being at John Brown. We had kids that were near college age, and so they'd be able to go for free. We just had brought home our youngest daughter, Annie, who we adopted from China. And so we were not looking for anything, but the more we prayed, the more we talked, the more it became, wow, what an opportunity to go to Focus on the Family and kind of build out a marriage department, marriage team. And that was 15 years ago. So it's been an amazing ride. We've loved it, loved being here, and couldn't imagine being anywhere else.
Sounds like you're helping a lot of people.
We we get to we just had I just saw it. I'm trying to think, where did I put it? But we just saw the recent kind of, for us, how many premarital, how many marriages have we helped, how many couples in crisis, and then how many couples have we helped equip to invest in other couples. And it's cool to see what God's doing. I think we've helped this past year about 100,000 premarital couples. We've helped about 500 and something thousand couples strengthen their marriage. We've helped about 150 couples who were in crisis. And then we've helped equip over like 550,000 couples gain a vision for how to invest in another couple. So it's just, it's amazing to see what God does here through the marriage department at Focus. It's been a blast.
It really is. Is there anything else you'd like to end us with?
Just that Aaron and I, we 7 years into our marriage, we thought our marriage was done. We had so drifted. Our hearts were so hardened against each other. And
You
it
didn't
was
have the perfect marriage.
not at all. Nor would I say we do now. I love our marriage, and I love what we get to do together. Yet we still have conflict. We still have to work through things. Just learning to live with someone so different from you. We're all different from each other, and so it's fun doing that. But it's just it's neat to see how God, brought the right people to get us help. We went through counseling. We had a neat mentor couple that stepped in, and that's what I love thinking about. Those opportunities to the 25% of those couples right now are struggling. And there's someone that we know. Every one of us knows someone who's struggling. And if we're willing just to go, yeah, even though what do I know? Or we don't have the perfect marriage. It's just recognizing that, God's going to use that relationship and I always say people can survive off of someone else's hope for a season. And there's fantastic help and hope out there, but the change to marriage in our country isn't going to come from a big ministry like Focus on the Family. It's going to come from couples who just want to, help those other couples who are hurting, and to encourage them, support them. And that to me is the real solution. I love what I do. We're going to keep doing everything we can to give people tools and things. But at the end of the day, it's that couple in every single church, every neighborhood, who really is the answer. And those are the marriage champions that I'm so proud of and excited to get to know them and keep praying for them and encouraging them, because Aaron and I benefited from that. And I know that they're going to help others. It's a joy to watch how God uses community. I have a good friend that said that marriage is a duet in need of backup singers. And so that's what Focus wants to be a backup singer in your marriage. And there are other couples who will do that as well. And we can do that for other couples.
The Virtuous Leaders audience, marriage is so important. Loving marriage is so important. And even if you're in crisis, it can improve and
Yeah.
it can get better. And if you're not in crisis, you can be the one to help someone else.
Right.
So takeaways from Greg Smalley here: conflict resolution, pray for each other, ask each other for your prayer intentions, share every day your highs and lows. You can take the assessment at focusonthefamily.com
Yep.
to see where you're in need of, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are. And if you're in crisis, y'all have resources that can help with that.
Absolutely. We'll walk with you in whatever that looks like.
Thanks so much, Greg.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Appreciate the great work you do.
Well, I hope I can have just a small reflection of the impact that you've had.